The 2023-2024 NBA regular season is winding down, and the dust is starting to settle on the brackets, at least for the top 6 teams as they avoid the play-in tournament. While there are 2 teams that have basically separated themselves from the pack as far as heavy contenders in both the Eastern and Western Conference, the Boston Celtics and Denver Nuggets, respectively, those 2 teams seem like pretty good picks to battle for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. I can honestly say there's a little something both are missing that keeps me from all out guaranteeing them in the finals. So what is it? Today I'm going to look at the top 4 teams in each conference and give my thoughts on what those teams are missing to get them to the mountaintop.
But YouTube, before I get into that, please like and subscribe to the channel. Everything helps, and we're trying to reach that 1,000 sub goal. So thank you guys. And also, if you enjoy podcasts, and we all do, check out the GOATcast podcast on my second channel. Link will be in the description. Myself and Big Nige talk about all things NBA, past, present, and even future. So check that out. Thank you.
Let's head out east first and talk about the top 4 teams currently and what they need to go far this postseason. As of this recording, the New York Knicks are sitting in the number 4 spot out east. So let's dive into what they lack going into the playoffs. The Knicks might be the feel-good story of the 2024 season. The once heavyweight major market team has been a tale of disappointment for most of the 21st century. However, bringing in Jalen Brunson in free agency to tag team with already established workhorse Julius Randle, the team has blossomed into one of the best units in the league. With some key additions coming in this year, solidifying their win-now mentality, they're going to be a sneaky good team when the playoffs start. So what are they missing? A rock-solid second scorer. Julius Randle was a definite all-star this season and held up his end for the early part of the season, but a shoulder injury has had him out for most of the second half of the season. Once he returns, is it feasible for Randle to be able to jump right back in where he left off? Brunson is going to be a target for defenses, and with the playoffs being more of a half-court game, Brunson will have a tough time doing it all himself. With Bojan Bogdanovic now in the fold, he has the tools to pick up the slack that Randle might leave as he works himself back into NBA full-game shape. The Knicks are a really well put-together team, with defenders like OG Anunoby, healthy Mitchell Robinson, Hartenstein, Precious Achiuwa, and now having Bojan as another guy that can score at will but hasn't been playoff tested. They should make some waves. It's just will that second scorer show up before it's too late. The number 3 seed out west, the Cleveland Cavaliers, headed by Donovan Mitchell and a solid group of guys like Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, when healthy, and Jarrett Allen, are another sneaky good team. Looking like they may be washed earlier in the season, they fought through injuries and even a disgruntled star to become a top 3 team out east and a top team in the NBA. So what is it that they're missing? Leadership. I believe JB Bickerstaff has done a Coach of the Year job with this team. Even though I believe they could have done what they're doing now last year in the playoffs, but they came up very small. This year, they're good. They're even great in my opinion, but they lack one important thing that is needed to go far in the postseason. A true leader. I know some will say, well, they have Donovan Mitchell. First off, Mitchell is a bit disgruntled in Cleveland. So while he's been playing at a high level, is his heart truly in it? He has suitors like the Lakers and the aforementioned Knicks, big market teams, trying to entice him. So will he go Raptors Kawhi and go all out? Or will he be Nets Harden, who will do just enough not to be considered a bust? Either way, the Cavs are missing a true leader for them to go far. The number 2 team in the East was one of the most talked about teams at the start of this season, for good and bad. As we know, Milwaukee made a big splash before opening night, bringing in all-star Damian Lillard for an offensive punch while letting Drew Holiday's defensive prowess go. This decision hasn't seemed to pan out like they thought. The Bucks have fluctuated between the 2 and 3 spot, which for most teams is the makings of a great season. For a team that had finals or bust aspirations, it's not quite ideal. Rookie coach Adrian Griffin tried to make the team an offensive threat after adding Dame, while sacrificing the defensive toughness that we had grown to expect from them. Although having a 30-13 start, Griffin was dismissed from his role, and in return, the Bucks added Doc Rivers, the coach with 9 lives. He seemed to be a safe yet odd pick for head coach and has since been ridiculed by some but given a wait-and-see pass by others. While still being a lower-rung defensive team but top-notch offensive team, they've had some success. There's obviously something missing. Surprisingly, with a team that is only a few seasons removed from a championship, that missing element is cohesion. Adding Dame and Malik Beasley looked like a seamless fit, and then later the tough vet Pat Beverly at trade deadline, but there's just this oil and water mixture with this team that shows up way too often. It's like Giannis and Dame just have a hard time coexisting. Maybe Giannis just was better with a point guard that didn't need the ball in his hands constantly or at all. So he kind of ran the team in stretches that enabled him to get to his spots. But Dame and Giannis can be potent, but it seems only in doses. It's like you take over and then I'll take over instead of a unit where they maximize both guys' strengths. I still think the Bucks are a threat out east and can take down anyone on a given night. They will have to be on one accord through 48 minutes to get that done. Is there anything truthfully the number one seeded and best team in the entire NBA, Boston Celtics, need? They have rim protectors and stretch bigs, 2 All-NBA and All-Star wings, an MVP candidate, a rising point guard, a solid bench. What more do they need? I can't say that there's anything necessarily that they need or that's missing. It's hard to say that for a team that has been as dominant as they have. However, their 2 best players can go completely invisible for stretches. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are probably either the best or second best 1-2 punch in the current NBA. 2 All-Stars, 2 All-NBA players, solid offensive and defensive wings. However, both have one fatal flaw. They can go missing for long stretches in important games. We saw Jason Tatum be a monster in certain games when they rose to the finals in 2022, but come up short in games that really mattered. With a 17.6 field goal percentage and 33.3 field goal percentage in opening and closing games, that's abysmal. Jaylen Brown actually outplayed Tatum in those finals, but also had 2 stinkers shooting under 30%. We all know those 2 have to be major players for this Celtics team to win. They do have others that can help a lot now and should relieve those 2 from having to be near perfect as they go further into the playoffs, but both have to show a level of consistency we have not seen them be able to rely on during their rise. While I don't see a team out east with a roster like the Celtics, a tough team, Knicks, maybe Bucks, will give them a challenge I'm not sure they're ready for in a 7-game series. So now let's head out west. Right now, the number 4 spot, the Los Angeles Clippers have a steady hold of that position. I have to admit I'm mildly a Clipper fan this season because I do want Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to have one big run before they eventually blow that team up. And there's no time better than the present. I was one of the many that hated the James Harden trade and thought it would ruin the team, but as we see, given a little time, they were able to make it all come together and flourish. Currently at 42-23, the Clippers are sitting in the spot they should want to be as they can potentially avoid the Denver Nuggets until the conference finals, and they have what I believe a favorable first-round matchup against the Pelicans, although New Orleans has had their number so far this season. So what are they missing? It's not so much what they're missing, but who they can't be missing come playoffs, and that is of course the duo of Kawhi and PG-13, who haven't been healthy in the postseason since COVID, I believe. With Kawhi having a scare with back spasms and Paul being in and out of the lineup at times, you're always on edge if you're a Clipper fan, but the glimmer of hope is that Kawhi's already back and PG-13 seems to be as close to 100%, knock on wood, as he'll get this season. As long as those 2 show up, Russell Westbrook gets back healthy and James Harden gives them something, they'll be a tough out and could go far this year. At number 3, the Minnesota Timberwolves. A team I've always had low expectations for, but they showed a little bit of flair last postseason, beating that juggernaut team and eventual champs, Denver Nuggets. I knew Anthony Edwards was good, but I wasn't expecting his rise to be this quick and steady. I had him penciled in as the new face of the league in maybe 2 or 3 more years, but he's already climbing into that spot. The T-Wolves are good, really good. Unfortunately, they have been hit late in the season by the injury bug to one of their key players, Karl Anthony Towns, but with a backup like Naz Reid, the loss isn't glaring. Now it's pretty safe to say that Cat will be back for the Wolves, if they can at least get out of the first round, but maybe even before then, so all hope isn't lost. This team is the best defensive team right now in basketball, and when playoff time comes around, that means something. With games being played in the half court and less free, having solid bigs that can rim protect and a perimeter defender that can be a pest like Ant-Man, the Wolves have every ingredient to go conference finals or even further. What are they missing though? This is a hard one because they have every tool. Defense, a crafty veteran that will keep his composure in Mike Conley, a star ready to break out in Edwards, and really good second options. So with that said, really only thing missing for the T-Wolves is being able to keep their composure and momentum come win or loss in a series. As long as they take one game at a time, this team will be hard to beat 4 times. The number 2 team out west and the odds-on favorite to bring home another chip are the Denver Nuggets. This will likely be brief, but I think we all know the one thing they're missing, but barring injuries, it's not that concerning. With probably the best player in basketball today, Nikola Jokic, anchoring the offense and a tall, lanky crop of wing players, they're nearly perfectly constructed for the regular and postseason. Even though they're 2 now, I can see them ramping it up late and sliding into that number 1 slot before all is said and done. Jamal Murray, who many believe is an all-star that just hasn't gotten the nod yet, has been his usual phenomenal self, and Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and KCP are the perfect mix for a player like Jokic. The only glaring issue is their bench, and while Christian Brown and Reggie Jackson will likely get the Bruce Brown and Jeff Green roles this year off the bench, they're not as consistent as either of those two. As I said earlier, as long as there's no injuries or no foul trouble, the starters are young enough and well equipped to play long minutes. They can even throw out Peyton Watson and Justin Holiday in small doses. While not a defensive team like Minnesota, their ability to score and the fact they already play at a slower pace than most teams means the grind of the playoffs would not be a problem for them. And if I was a betting man, I'd put money on a repeat in Denver. Finally, number 1 as of this recording, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Talk about a leap. The Thunder didn't even make it into the playoffs last year, coming up short in the play-in tournament to the other big leap team, Minnesota Timberwolves. Adding Chet Holmgren has done wonders, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, putting the league on notice, has changed the culture there. In the top 5 in both offensive and defensive rating, they're a very young and talented team that can put up buckets in bunches and stifle teams if need be. Jalen Williams has stepped up to be a solid second option for Shai, while Chet is busy doing the dirty work inside but can be the second option if needed. I think we all know their one issue as well. They're young, very young, and inexperienced in a playoff setting. I thought they had the right idea but wrong player at trade deadline, as they desperately needed a veteran player. Gordon Hayward at 33 is just not the answer. We've seen teams with veterans able to exploit the young Thunder like the Lakers and Timberwolves, 2 teams they may have to face off with at some point in the playoffs. Veteran bigs just seem to have their way with the young Thunder, and that is unfortunate as some of the best bigs in the league reside in the West and will all be on full display come postseason. So there you have it, the top teams out East and West, and what key ingredient is missing for them to take the next step to the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments section. And if you have your own things that you feel these teams are missing, let me know. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe to help us grow to that 1K goal. Appreciate the view and hope you enjoyed. Thank you.